So it's been a year since I received the Heygears Reflex RS and I've been using it, and I thought I'd do a video just to kind of sum up how it's changed in the time that I got it and my thoughts on it, but also do a bit of a stupid project at the same time. So full disclosure, obviously Heygears did originally send me over all of this kit. So I got sent over the printer, the wash and cure, and also a whole bunch of their different resins as well. So that will obviously bias my opinion in some way. Now, the project I wanted to do with this was printing off a whole bunch of orcs to fight my children. Not like literally fight them, but we recently went to Warhammer World. They really liked some of the dioramas they saw there. So I decided I'd print off a whole bunch of orcs and I print them off some knights as well. So throughout this video, you will see little bits of them painting and some little bits of me painting as well, and just having a lot of fun with it. Now, the resin I've been using for these, obviously because they're going to be used by kids, is Heygears like really flexible resin, and this stuff works really nicely. It looks quite a lot like just your general like Games Workshop plastics at a glance. It's very flexible, it's robust, it doesn't break, and it's still got really good detail and everything else there. They've been playing with these little figures for quite some time. They haven't broken any yet, and they're quite rough with them, so it seems to last when it comes to durability. Anyway, about the printer and a year on, and to be honest, not a huge amount has changed from the printer side of it, which kind of makes sense. That's the physical printer. But a lot of the software side of things has updated quite a lot, in fact. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Heygears Reflex RS is, and mine is now a turbo version, we'll come on to that shortly, it's basically a newish printer, or a year-old printer, by a company called Heygears. Now, I really like it, but obviously I completely understand a lot of the community seems to absolutely hate it because it's a little bit more locked down than other 3D printers out there. It's a nice designed printer. It's made to work with their software, which is one of the things that people get really upset about, and it's advertised as working with basically just their resins as well. And the idea behind it is that you can basically buy one of their resins, whether or not it's their like water washable resin, which they have like bundles of at the moment for relatively decent prices, or you can buy their more flexible resins or their engineering type resins, and you can load one of those cartridges into the machine. And then in the slicer, you tell the slicer, hey, I am using this particular resin, and it can do all of the fun-fangled bits in the background to make sure that you get the absolute optimum print. And it works really, really well. There's no shying away from it, regardless of your thoughts and feelings as to whether or not you like the more lockdown approach or not. The end results are really good. I always get fantastic results. It also has auto supporting within the slicer, which is to be expected. But in my opinion, the auto supporting works fantastic when it comes to the Heygears side of things. And again, it's because it knows what type of resin that you're using. So therefore it will give you the best kind of supports for the type of resin that you are using. The Reflex RS that I have also has the heating module in there as well, so it can keep it to an ideal temperature for your printing. It's fantastic for obviously my setup. I print outside in the garage, which when it comes to winter can get nice and cold, which can be an issue, and mine keeps it at a decent temperature and I don't get failures. So if you are printing in unideal temperatures, it is nice to have something that has that heated vat to keep the resin nice and warm. It's also easy to work with on the machine as well. You can run things like your updates for the machine itself through the printer when it's connected to Wi-Fi. You can update them from your laptop as well instead and send it over to the printer. There's a lot of nice functionality there that some printers that I've used in the past just don't have when it comes to that user interface. Now, you probably know a lot of this if you've watched any of my other videos on the Reflex RS. You know that I get great print results. You know that it's relatively fast. You know all the spec and all of that. So what's changed? And as I said, not a huge amount printer side has changed. That's mostly the same. The one thing that has changed on mine is it's now a turbo version, and that's because they sent me over their new screen, which will apparently offer me better quality. And overall, maybe that is the case. I haven't really seen it. It's hard to tell when you're just looking at these models because the quality was already really good. The one thing that did demonstrate though was the installation of the new screen was incredibly easy. Literally, you pop off a couple of the screws, it slides out and there's like a little ribbon that you remove off, and then you pop the new one in. And it's basically done. You know, it took me about 10 minutes to replace the screen. And I love this, and I want all brands to do something similar, that, you know, user upgradable screens They should be, replaceable relatively easy because things can happen. You can accidentally have some, I don't know, broken bit of resin in there that then smashes the screen. You could break the screen, you could get some resin leakage. There's loads of things that could happen to your screen, and gradually they do wear out over time. So having something that is easy to replace is a massive win, but easy to upgrade to a newer version of the screen is an even bigger win as well. So hats off to them for that. Apart from that, everything else hardware-wise is basically identical, as you would expect. The big changes have come across onto the software. So things are just a lot faster, they're a lot snappier. I had a lot of like user interface things that were just annoying me when I was kind of first using this machine in the slicer. You go to click on a model, for example, unless you clicked on the exact right place, it wouldn't click the model and it would just be a pain in the bottom to kind of do things with. It now has like multiple plates as well. And if you're coming from an FDM printer, that seems like that should have been there like all along. And now it is there. And granted, this isn't just exclusive to Blueprint Studio, which is what Heygears use. It's now come across to things like Lychee as well. But it's all included within that software. You don't have to pay any extra. There's no upgrades or anything like that. It's so nice for doing big projects where you've got a lot of things to print off. You can just import all your models onto different plates, and it just makes printing so much easier. Sending files from my machine to my printer as well, that all still exists. All of that good stuff that was there in the software beforehand was great. So once I've sliced a file, I really like the way everything is integrated. I can slice a file on my MacBook. Once it has finished slicing, I will then get an alert on my phone. The app will ping up and say, hey, that's, it's done. Do you want to send it over to the printer? I can then send it over to the printer. And then again, it will ping my phone and say, right, it's ready. You can go out and press print. I can go out, press print. And once the printer starts, once it's heated the resin and everything up, say, hey, it'll ping my phone and say, hey, I'm done, I'm ready, I'm starting my print now. Yeah, I'll check back in a bit. And once it's finished again, it will ping my phone. Might seem simple, but I love that integration between machine, app, and laptop. It's not as though if I start it on the laptop, it will only notify me on the laptop. Everything talks to each other, which is really, really nice. Now, I did mention something there that really annoys me about the Reflex RS, because this is something they actually promised would be live from my launch video, which was a year ago, and it's still not available, is that you're meant to be able to print remotely from this. So I said in my video that I would love it if I could print remotely, like on my Bamboo Lab printers. You slice your project, you send it to the printer, then you should be able to hit print and let it go and do its thing. Now the functionality is there in the software now, which is really random. That showed up almost like 2 weeks after I did that initial video. So I can slice it up, and then there's a button on there, it says start print. And when I do it, it's like, no, this isn't supported on the machine currently. It's like, which is really disappointing. So, if that could be rolled out, that'd be great, because it just seems like something that should be there, and it's a promise that they didn't deliver on. So I feel like that needs to be called out. Now, a couple of other things that I have found out over the course of like a year of using this is that it does work well with non-Heygears resins. Now, maybe that shouldn't be in a video that's exclusively about this, but it does. It works really, really well. So the resins I've used on this, it's the Nova 3D Tough resin. Works really, really well when you pair it up with their PAS 10 profile. I've got some fantastic results from this. It's a lovely flexible resin, works well in the printer, and I tend to get really good results from it. Also, the Sunlu ABS light resin works really well in this printer as well. I've had no issues with that. So you can use third-party resins with it if you want to. However, I will go back to it. The best results you're going to get will be with their resins. And their resins can be relatively expensive at times. If you're looking at their flexible resin, for example, although some of the best flexible resins on the market are really expensive, so it's maybe not the best comparison, but on average, their resins are more expensive. But then you do get that sort of like integration with their auto supports working better, just the machine making sure you get the best results from it. But for everyone else out there, like me, who print a lot of things, you can use third-party resins, and I've had no issues with it so far. There's also a completely offline mode now as well if you want to use that. So some of the feedback that people gave when this machine first came to the market was the fact that they didn't like the fact that if you wanted to use their slicer, which you have to use to power the machine to get it working, is you've got to set up an account with them, you've got to log in with them, you've got to have internet access with them, which I get, from a security perspective, and I also get from, if they go out of business perspective, you then lose access to your machine because all the cloud side of things goes down. You no longer need to do that, so you don't need to set up an account with them. You can just download Blueprint Studio and use it all offline. So that's a big step in the right direction. Now, when it came to these aught and knights and everything else, they all came off really, really nicely. The machine just prints nicely pretty much every single time. I do occasionally get a failure, but it's normally if I'm using a third-party resin. And again, that's because the machine, the settings, all of that, they're not 100% dialed in like I would normally get on a different type of printer. But when I'm using the Heygears stuff, and they sent me over loads of resins, in fact, I've got like far too many of them, it always comes out really, really nicely. I'm using the flexible resins for all these aught and for these knights as well, and they come out nicely. Great detail, they're nice, they're easy to clean. I just have a blast with them. They've also now do a lot of refillable ones. So when this machine first launched, you could only buy the cartridges, which have to slot into the back of the machine, although you can just pour it in if you want to. But now they also sell the refillable ones as well. So it's basically a standard bottle of resin. The one thing I really like about these bottles actually is they have a lovely pour spout on them, which makes it easy to get it into the vat. I mean, most resins are easy enough to get in there, but you don't have that annoying like milk carton lid bit that you've got to kind of peel off, and then it gets sloppy all over the place. So it's just, again, nice to have. The one downside I will say, however, about this design is that when you then try to get the resin out of the vat back into the bottle, which in fairness I very rarely do, but if you are changing resins over, putting like a pour spout into it, it's really hard because you can't get it to sit nicely. So it'd be nice if that auto unscrewed, but then it probably bumps up the cost of the bottle, so maybe I'm asking for too much, I don't know. I guess the final thing to talk about before I finish this video is just longevity and maintenance and stuff like that, because that's always going to be something that people will want to know. Now, I use this machine as my primary machine, so the vast majority of resin 3D printer projects on this channel are done using this machine. So that should hopefully give you an indication as to how much it gets used, and I've used it a lot. I've used it in different temperatures, so it tends to sit in my grow tent. I don't normally have the fan, so I have like a little heater that sits next to them. I don't need to use that with this machine, so it's doing all of that. And it's still going strong. So I have had to replace a FEP once on this, and for that, you basically can buy a packet of additional FEPs which come with the metal frame on them, which feels kind of wasteful. You can't buy replacement FEP films from them to swap them out. So it'd be nice if they offered that. But once you replace it, it then has like an NFC like tag in there, so it knows a new one's gone onto it, and it'll reset the counter on your machine. So that's really the only consumable that I've had to replace on it in the last year, which is pretty good going. Everything else has worked really, really well on it. The screen, as I said, that has been replaced. So I guess that could be an argument that actually I have had to replace a consumable on it. But the old screen was working fine. I didn't have to replace it because it was broken or it was, you know, emitting less light or anything like that. I replaced it because they sent me a new upgraded one and I wanted to try that out and see how it worked. So that's working perfectly fine as well. It was nice and easy to do. Everything else on the machine is working perfectly fine. So my experience in terms of longevity, it works. I've not had any major issues, nothing that's cropped up to stop me printing or anything like that. It seems to be getting a lot of regular updates, which is always nice to have because it hopefully brings more functionality and stuff like that down the line, and hopefully a remote printing at some point as well, because that would be nice to have. So all in all, I really like this machine. I understand why you might not like it. If you're a general hobbyist and you like to tinker, you like to have full control over your software and your resins and everything else, you don't want to be locked down in any shape or form, of course that makes sense. You're going to go for something different. But it is a great machine. If you are brand new to resin 3D printing, if you're more of a, I don't know, maybe a prosumer who doesn't want to tinker with the settings side of things, you just want to be able to load a cartridge in of resin that's going to work for your workflow and get printing, then it's a great machine for that. And the fact that it does still work with third-party resins also is just a nice thing to have too. If you are in the market for one of these, they are on sale at the moment as well, so you can head down to my links. I get a kickback on any of that, so if you do buy one, I do get a bit of money there as well, so thank you so much. It doesn't cost you any extra, but again, you make your own buying decisions. Go around, have a look at what other people have to say, other reviews and stuff like that. For me, it works really nicely because I just want something that's easy to use. When I'm doing a project and I need to get it out relatively quickly, I just want to be able to load up my software, download the model, stick it in there, press print, and it does it without having to worry. Whereas on other machines that I've used, you do sometimes have to worry, well, actually, what resin am I using? What settings do I need to use for that? I don't have that side of things now, and I do enjoy that. So that's my just general thoughts. I think it's a great printer, but I understand why so many of you hate it. It's still worth giving a shot. Thanks so much for watching. If you've got any questions, throw them down in the comments below. And again, as always, thank you so much to Heygears for sending this sort of stuff over to me. It helps me just to keep the channel going in terms of getting resin and stuff like that for projects. You know, it's just always a nice to have. It just means I can do more, which is always good because my kids seem to like models now and they want to print loads of stuff. So wish me luck. Ta-ra!